long range is easy, man. All you need is 30-06 and this 3x9 right here. I can hit crankcase at 700 yards, no problem. Hold on, give me a minute. All right. That was actually the wind. Maybe it's the ammo. I think it might be the ammo, actually. I think the Coriolis of the earth is actually affecting it right now. The local gun store, they told me this was bore-sighted from the factory, and so I actually didn't bother with it because I trusted them. So I'll probably have to correct my zero. All you really need for long-range shooting is a 30-06 in this 3x9 with a sniper's reticle, and then the rest is the shooter. I'm gonna tell you right now. How you guys doing? Welcome back to Country Mash. I hope you guys have been awesome. Today we're talking extreme budget long range rifle setup. Not extreme long range on a budget. Extreme budget long range. So obviously you need a little bit better of a rifle setup than the one in the intro or than the one I have right here. But you don't have to spend a lot of money at all. I've seen there's a lot of budget long range rifle setups out there, and they're actually really good high value budget setups. Like there's nothing wrong with them. But what happens when you want to get in a long range shooting and a budget build is still too expensive? That's what I'm going to share with you guys today, is my extreme budget long range build. And there's going to be a portion of it where there's some discussions and just some things about what I'm choosing. I choose what I choose because it's what I chose. But the point is that it's going to be what you can get your hands on and what you can afford. But before we get into the build and the items that I chose to put on this rifle that are extremely cheap, I just do want to talk about a couple of things. And the first one is that technology has come a long way with rifles, optics, and accessories and parts, aftermarket parts and all that stuff, to where it's really hard to not get good equipment. Like, you have to be super cheap. I mean, if you look back at some of the old military snipers and just old school long range shooters, they made do with very little compared to what we have today. So it's definitely possible. The second thing I want to talk about is that there are a lot of gimmicky, unnecessary, pointless, and bad products out there that simply will not add any value to what we're trying to do. Just stay away. So I'm going to get into what I chose to use for this extreme budget long range build. And remember, this is something that's going to get you into long range shooting. It's just a platform that's going to allow you to shoot targets at long range. And so there are a couple things that you will need that's a little bit more than, you know, a 3-9 on a 30-06 with some cheap Winchester ammo. You do need a little bit more than that, but not much. So just keep that in mind as I'm talking about this stuff. And you know, we're not going for like Jason Bourne here. So the first thing we have to choose is rifle and cartridge selection. Now, before I go into detail into the rifle that I chose, some of you guys probably know what it is already and know a little bit about it, but the point I want to drive home is that use whatever rifle that you could get your hands on. If your grandpappy, you know, passed down an old 30-06 hunting rifle or a 270 and it's in safe working condition, you can totally use that. If you have a pawn shop down the street that has a really good deal on some old hunting rifles and it's in the budget that you can afford, then go ahead and pick it up, because to get into long range shooting, yes, there are better rifles, there are better suited cartridges that do the job better, but we're talking about just to get you into long range shooting. So if the cartridge that you chose can go past 600 yards, then you can have some fun with it. Now, for those of you guys interested in the rifle that I purchased brand new, I chose the cheapest Remington 700 ADL at my local Walmart. They had it on sale for $379. I got it chambered in 30-06 simply to drive that point home that you don't need the fancy new trending cartridges. It has a 1 in 10 twist rate, The stock is a synthetic ADL stock, so there's no hinge plate on the bottom and there's no detachable magazine, and it's also not free floated. It has the non-adjustable X Mark Pro trigger, and when I say non-adjustable, I just mean it's externally non-adjustable, but technically you can still adjust it internally, and the rifle weighs about 7.4 pounds. So the Remington 700 ADL chambered in 30-06 is the rifle that I chose to go with for buying a brand new rifle. If you guys are in that boat where maybe you don't have a pass down gun and you don't want to be super cheap by buying a used gun at a pawn shop, this is what I went with. I'm not saying it's better than the Savage Axis or the Ruger American or the Remington 783 or even the TC Compass. Those are all really great budget bolt action rifles from everything that I've read. I don't have any firsthand experience with them. I hope to maybe get my hands on one of these days just to kind of see what they're all about, but I'm a fan of the 700 action, so for the price I feel like I couldn't beat that. So that's what I went with. So now let's talk optics. You're going to need an optic that can get you to even shoot long range. So something like this 3-9 that came on this rifle, it has a duplex reticle in it. So you just simply can't shoot long range with this scope. You need one of two things, and that's either a reticle that has a mill grid system or holdovers or a BDC, bullet drop compensator, or you need turrets that can track perfectly. So when you're talking budget optics, it's really hard to find an optic that can track perfectly. So in that case, we're going to be looking for an optic that has a really good reticle that can do all that work for us. And so I'm going to be putting on the Primary Arms 4-14 by 44 with the R-Grid 2B reticle. So I've done a video going over this reticle. I'll link to the video if you guys want more information on what this reticle is all about, how to use it, and I even talk about how to range any size target using this reticle and actually using any mill system. But I've done a review on the same scope with a different reticle in the past, so I know how tough and hardy these scopes are. I know that it's going to withstand anything this rifle will put it through, but then the reticle inside is really going to make it super easy to do long range. It has a really nice mill grid inside and nice horseshoe for shooting at low powers. So it really is one of the best budget long range scopes in my opinion. And this optic runs for about $279.99, so about 280 bucks. Now there's probably some of you guys out there who think that's extremely expensive for what we're talking about, but just keep in mind that this rifle that I got is an extremely cheap rifle for $380. This optic is still cheaper than this rifle. So I personally think it's a really good value, and I have personal experience with this scope, and I know for a fact it will definitely get you out to long range shooting. You have the variable magnification, you have the side parallax, you have illumination, and the best part of all is you have a really awesome reticle that in a later video I'll show you guys that we're going to take this rifle out and do some long range shooting. That's going to be in a part 2 video coming up soon. But you do have to spend money in certain areas where it's a priority. And so a decent optic is the first place where you're going to want to spend a decent amount of your money. And then the second place is going to be ammo. Now, I don't mean that you have to go out there and buy the most expensive ammo. What I mean is you're going to want to get a lot of different types of ammo to shoot through your rifle. You want to get a big variety to see what your rifle likes. So every rifle is going to prefer a certain type of ammo. So if you're a hand loader, that's actually even better because you can really fine tune your hand load to what your rifle likes. So you're going to have to spend some money to figure that out. And then once you do, you got to spend some money on a good amount of ammo just so you can practice. I know dry firing is a really good practice that will actually and truly build your skills. I still dry fire practice all the time and it still helps me develop my skills. But there is still no real replacement for live fire practice. You have to get out there and shoot. You need to miss. You have to get out there and shoot and physically see your mistakes on paper. You have to feel that pressure of if you're not disciplined and you screw around on your fundamentals, you're going to be wasting that costly ammo that you just bought. So it's good to get out there and just shoot. That's really going to be one of the best things you can do to get good at long range shooting is just get out there and shoot. So now when it comes to the scope rings and bases, again, use with what you can afford or what you have. So This rifle that I bought, it was a combo package, so it came with the scope, and it has the 2-piece base on there, and it came with scope rings. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that base on there for now, and obviously the scope that I have is a 30mm scope, so I had to get some other rings to work. So I had some inexpensive Vortex rings laying around that I'm going to go ahead and use. So if I didn't have those laying around, I'd probably just go to Amazon and find something cheap to use. Again, remember, we're just talking about getting into long-range shooting, so you don't need anything extremely durable. It's not like you're, going in and out of tanks and, going on sniper missions. This is just to get into long-range shooting. So I think a majority of the stuff out there is going to work okay. But again, if you have a rifle that already has that stuff on it, go ahead and use it. The key is making sure that you mount everything correctly. And now, I'm a little confused on YouTube's policies on what we're allowed to show you, what we're not allowed to show you, as far as installing gun parts and stuff like that. So I'm actually going to leave that portion out of the video, but it is important to make sure that you install everything correctly. So make sure that everything is straight and level. Make sure you have everything torqued down correctly. I like to use Loctite to make sure everything's firmly secure. And all that stuff is what's going to make a big difference, especially when we're using this cheap stuff. So that pretty much wraps up my build, guys. I'm curious to hear what you guys have laying around or what you guys plan on using. I also want to know, I'm going to have this optic just laying around collecting dust, and it's super cheap. I'm not going to use it for literally anything. It's really bad. It has a really, really close eye relief and a terrible eye box. So I want to know what you guys think I should do with it. Leave your ideas down in the comments below. It should be fun. And I will actually catch you guys on part 2 of this video, where we're going to take this setup out. We're going to get a couple different types of ammo, shoot some groups, see what kind of accuracy we can get out of it, and maybe see if we could take it to some longer ranges. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some sort of something out of it, whether that was legitimate information that you can use or just laughs. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and hit that like button. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to the channel. You guys seriously rock. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. I think I just need a little break. A little dehydrated.